under the direction of Dr. Eric Wilson, who is the Director of Bands at Baylor University. So please help me bring to the stage Dr. Eric Wilson.
Thank you so much for entrusting us with your children this week. It has been amazing. This is, as I told them, one of my favorite weeks of the year. So thank you so much for the sacrifice of time and money to drive them down or allow them to come. It's been just a wonderful week. Zoom has always been in our language, but after COVID 2020, that took on a whole different meaning. And that last piece was sort of sort of to signify maybe we're out of it. Also, there's an element of the race car. And so we hope you enjoyed Zoom by Scott Morgan, who teaches at Western Michigan. This next piece is very different in character. You can see by the title, which is Lament for Wind Orchestra. Our society, of course, deals with grief in a lot of different ways, and that brings up all kinds of emotions. You'll hear many of those expressed through sound by this composer, Chang Soo Ko. As you know, just from our personal experiences, there are moments of exasperation, maybe we can't even speak. The grief or lamenting a loss or something that, encountered in our lives. Sometimes it brings great pain, and we cry out, and maybe even scream and shout, and just the many different ways of dealing with the loss of an opportunity, a loved one, many different things. So this piece is very different in character, but I think you'll appreciate the many different realms of emotion and sounds that are possible for the wind band expressed in Lament for Wind Orchestra. We hope you enjoy it. Many of you have attended the Texas Music Educators Association in San Antonio. Many of these students are all state students, and certainly of that caliber. And we appreciate the fact that this top group is basically an all-state band, and we get to spend a whole week together. As part of that, I try to pick music that perhaps some of these students may never perform in their high school career because of either the complexity or a whole host of other reasons. This next piece is Yellow, Red, Blue by a good friend of ours here at Baylor and our wind band world, Paul Dooley, teaches at the University of Michigan. He's been here to Baylor many times. He wrote a piece in honor of a retiring director of bands from Oklahoma State years ago. And this was during COVID, and it ended up having to be the chamber version of about less than 20 playing because of the distancing that was required at the time. And he expanded it to include the full wind band. And so this is Yellow, Red, Blue. It has two movements to it. And so we'll play those back to back with very little pause. But you'll hear some very elegant music, some beautiful colors, representing so many different kinds of, as the title ensues, colors of the wind band playing. The things that you can, the combinations of instruments. We have Chalessa up here in front. I'd like to thank Matush Paris for joining us. He's a student here at Baylor, so thank you so much for doing that as well. You'll hear this color represented throughout the entire piece. And we'll identify a lot of woodwind soloists as well as brass and percussion. So I think you'll really enjoy a very interesting piece, very difficult, and I'm super proud of what they have done this week. So here's Yellow, Red, Blue by Paul Dooley. These students have played a lot this week. They may need some ice packs on their way home for their face. They have played in the wind ensemble. Many of them will play right after this in the orchestra. Several played in the jazz ensemble. They all played in their master classes, the chamber music program last night. This is one of the most playing, but also having fun camps that we hear about. And it's our pleasure to be able to offer this. And certainly the COVID years were, it's kind of disconcerting that we weren't able to do that, but we're glad that we're back. So again, thank you so much for traveling down I-35. Hopefully it'll be completely clear and no construction accidents or anything on your way home. Our last piece, as you might expect, is recognizable. But before I tell you that, there's just a couple of people I want to thank. Of course, Mr. Parker for all of his guidance in the summer camps, all that he's done for many years. Excited to have this camp here and the concluding concert. We have several counselors that have been serving your students all week long. We've had 3 that have been assigned to this ensemble: Craig Adams, Savannah Fish, and Tate Krumsinger. These 3 have really done so much work. Would you help me thank them for all the work? We've also had Cody as well, who's helped us with our percussion section. It takes a lot to be able to move chairs and stands around so many times to get the music prepared, oversee their events. And so I'd like to thank them. We've had a couple of folks that have filled in. You heard Matouche on the celeste. We had Marco Cornell that's been sitting with on the tiny clarinet, the E-flat. So I'm grateful for him for doing that. So these students have done so much all week long, and you heard the difficulty and the complexity of that last piece. You would think, oh, there's nothing hard about Yankee Doodle. You'll hear that you might be wrong. Because it's not so much the treatment of the melody, but it's everything else that's around it. And Morton Gould is a legendary composer, and for many different mediums, not just the band, but orchestra, chamber, solo, etc. And we think you're going to enjoy this. It goes by pretty quickly, but there's a lot to hear. So we hope you enjoy our concluding performance for this year's camp, Yankee Doodle, arranged by Morton Gould. Thank you again for your presence. Safe travels home.